Hello guys, welcome to my channel, and I am Professor Haggard. To those who are first timers this vlog, let me invite every one of you to please click like and subscribe if you want to watch more videos and contents like this. Okay, so now let us start a discussion about how to create a good research question. At sa discussion nito, we will include the discussion about the difference of qualitative and quantitative research questions. This is for the purpose para meron tayong paraan to compare and contrast the two types of research questions in connection to the type of researches we are using, namely qualitative and quantitative. So, unang-una, gaano ba ka-importante ang research question? How important are the research questions? So, napaka-importante ng research question or research questions because these research questions bear the problem of the study and is so considered as the heart of the research. Sila po yung mga puso na nagdadala ng dahilan ng ating pag-i-investigate or pag-i-study or pag-re-research natin. So, that's why research questions are very important. So, directly speaking, kung walang research question, there is actually there is nothing for us to investigate. And now let us proceed directly to topics regarding quantitative research questions. And first, what are the things or the characteristics of quantitative research questions? So quantitative research questions often start with how, what, or why. Yung pinakakaibahan niya dun sa qualitative research question, sabihin ko na lang, yung qualitative research questions, wala siyang why. It only use this how and what. And also in quantitative research questions, those questions contain independent and dependent variable. Madalas talagang meron siyang independent saka dependent variable in creating the research questions for quantitative. And also lastly, it look at connections, relations, or comparisons between variables. Yung pinaka-intention ng research question o yung mga katanungan when it comes to quantitative is to seek for connections, relationships, and comparisons between variables. So that's it about those characteristics or the characteristics of quantitative research questions. And we also have here the types of quantitative research questions, namely yung descriptive question, causal questions, and predictive questions. And we are going to discuss each of them now. So first, ano nga ba yung descriptive question? Okay. So yung descriptive question are simple questions that ask about how much or how often or look for a list of things or factors. Since quantitative siya, yung tinatanong niya are answerable or measurable by numbers. So for example, how much, di ba? How much? So, gaano kadami? Gaano kadalas, how often, or look for a list of things or factor. How much, gaano ka dami, tapos how often, gaano kadalas. So for example, we have here a descriptive question. How often do people age 30 to 40 visit their parents? So, gaano daw kadalas yung mga tao na nag-iedad ng 30 to 40, gaano sila kadalas bumibisita sa kanilang mga magulang. So that is one type of descriptive question that is also applicable for as an example for a research question under descriptive question. Okay, so let us go back. So we have here also causal questions. Anong ibig sabihin ng causal questions? Yung causal questions, it determine a relationship between two variables or they compare two variables. From the word itself na causal, this determine a relationship between two variables or they compare two variables in such a way that it seeks for a cause and effect situation. For example, here, how does stress at work relate to quality of life in people working night shifts? So this is a relationship questions. Remember that causal questions are determining relationship between two variables or comparing. So first, we have here relationship questions na nagre-relate kung yung stress ba daw sa trabaho, marirelate ba daw sa quality ng life ng mga taong nagtatrabaho sa gabi. So that's a relationship question. We also have a comparison questions. We have here an example. How do lean, yung mga papayat o yung maninipis yung pangangatawan. Lean participants compare to obese participants in their frequency and intensity of food cravings, kung gaano sila kalakas o gaano kadami yung kinakain ng mga obese. So that is a comparison question. So that is an example of causal question, which is a comparison question. And going back to the last type of quantitative research question, we have predictive questions. So ano nga ba yung predictive questions, which are pretty different from the first two? Okay, the predictive questions forecast an outcome. Napakasimple lang. It forecasts an outcome. Yung pagtatanong niya intends to ask about what may happen. Okay, forecast an outcome, kung anong mangyayari. So for example, does a stressful work environment lead to higher turnover rates? So nagtatanong, yung research questions is predictive dahil inuhulaan niya nga na kung yung lugar ba na stressful, nakaka-stress, nagiging dahilan ba for a higher turnover rates. Okay, that is about predictive questions. So I guess that's it for quantitative research question. So let us proceed to qualitative research question, which is the focus of our vlog for today. So we have here, these are the guide in creating qualitative research questions. So previously in the quantitative research question, I also showed you some guide, which are the characteristics of quantitative research questions. But for now, this is for qualitative research questions. So unang-una, nagsisimula ang mga qualitative research questions with what or how. So if you may notice, wala siyang why, because the use of why implies cause and effect. So it implies cause and effect. Kaya hindi pwedeng gumamit ng why. Pag magtatanong tayo ng why, that is for quantitative because it's already leading doon sa paghahanap ng kung ano yung dahilan at yung naging epekto. Yun yung dahilan kung bakit hindi tayo pwedeng gumamit ng why when it comes to qualitative research questions. And we have here the second guide in creating qualitative research questions is that yung mga qualitative research questions, it identify the central phenomenon you plan to explore. So yung pinaka-focus ng qualitative research questions is to know the phenomenon, or in simple terms, yung phenomenon, yung situation. Gusto niyang i-identify in a way that the qualitative research questions, yung intention niya i-explore. Yung explore, yung pag-discover, okay? Tell in our questions, one of the tips is for us to start with, in our purpose of the statement, to describe, okay, to explore, to generate, to discover, to understand, which would be the basis also in creating our research question. Okay, and the last one is to avoid the use of quantitative words such as relate, influence, effect, or cause. So very obvious kasi it already includes, or it is necessary for us now to include variables in the research questions if we're going to use such words as relate, diba? So of course there are two variables involved in such question. Okay, so let us proceed. So meron akong example dito, I took it from the internet. So if you may notice yung kaibahan ng quantitative research question to qualitative research question. Una, in this question, nakafocus yung question, how does witnessing domestic violence impact a child's romantic relationship in adulthood? Nakafocus yung questions in determining kung gaano yung emotional level ng child dahil sa nakawitness ng domestic violence. Mini-measure, ibig sabihin merong element na kinakailangan kang mag-measure. That's why it's quantitative. Okay? And you can also identify their variables. However, kung i-contrast natin siya sa qualitative, the qualitative research question here only focus on the understanding. How do people who witness domestic violence understand? Yung understanding ng mga people na nakawitness ng domestic violence. Hanggang doon lang yung qualitative. Hindi siya nagbe-measure. It only asks about yung understanding ng mga people, how it affects their current relationship. And if you're going to notice all of them, for example here, you have their relationship. Of course, there are already variables involved. So that's why it's already quantitative. However, here, yung focus ng qualitative, nagtatanong lang siya about the experience of identifying as LGBTQ ba yun, yung mga bata in the foster care system. Okay? So, and also the third one, it uses the word effect. So, of course, it tells us about cause and effect situation, which is already quantitative in nature. For qualitative research question, tinatanong lang niya is, what is the meaning? Yung meaning para sa mga residents ng racial ambivalence. Para sa kanila, ano bang ibig sabihin ng racial ambivalence to them as residents of urban neighborhood, okay, with high income inequality. And quantitative research questions, last example is, how does race impact rates of mental health diagnosis for children? It uses again the word impact. So it tells us about another cause and effect situation. It involves also variables. Of course, it's quantitative. So yung pinaka-characteristic ng quantitative, it involves variables. So qualitative naman, it only tends to ask about experiences, understanding ng mga participants. So for example here, how do African Americans experience? So yung experience nila seeking help for mental health concerns. So that is for qualitative research questions. And now, I want to take you to a more comprehensive discussion on the steps in creating qualitative research questions. So unang-una in our steps is to determine what type of qualitative methodology to be used. So yung qualitative research question kasi na gagamitin natin is, of course, it corresponds sa kung ano na qualitative method yung ginagamit natin. So, here is an example. Kung grounded theory siya, meaning ng grounded theory, meron kang theory na sarili mo na gusto mong patunayan. Anyway, I'm going to create another vlog for this to discuss each of this type of qualitative researches. So yung grounded theory for now, you wanted to prove a theory. So ganito yung pagkakagawa mo ng research questions. What are the attitudes of elderly people? Because you have a theory that the attitudes of these elderly people with stroke would be different because they are using they're using assistive devices and technologies. Okay, that's why that is the appropriate way to create the question for grounded theory. And we have also phenomenology. This is to describe situations or to describe situations in yung phenomenology. So for example, gusto mong i-describe yung role ng therapist is spirituality, mainly yung spirituality niya. That is also how you can create the research question for phenomenology. And we also have ethnography, so it focuses on culture or customs of certain races in your ethnography. So of course, yung research question mo will touch about, for example here, races, Latinas or Latinos. We also have here narrative inquiry. How does a good everyday life come about when living with chronic rheumatic conditions? So narrative inquiry kasi it focuses on stories of people. So kaya ganyan lang din yung paggawa ng research question. For case study, you are investigating a certain issue. That is a case study. A certain case, such as yung merong issue about maraming na-rape. So, this is case study and you're going to conduct a systematic investigation about that. So, for this one, yung example, what strategies? So, yung case mo that there are strategies used by small businesses. That is your case. You wanted to know if there are strategies that have been effective and viable for workplace wellness programs. So that is about the research questions corresponding different types of methodology. Okay, so it leads us now to the second step in creating qualitative research question, which is to choose an interesting topic that seeks to explore or describe a phenomena. So yung topic natin, importante yun, na meron tayong come up with a good research topic. So you can also consider this as the first step, or you can consider this the second step. So it's up to you. But as a suggestion, ito na lang yung second step, because I think it would be more better for us to already have in our mind kung anong type ng research yung gagamitin natin, yung type ng methodology yung gusto nating apply. Because if we do not know, for example, how to conduct a grounded theory research, so siyempre magiging mahirap din sa atin kung paano ikakandak yon. So dapat kung pwede, unahin natin yung pagpili ng kung anong type of research. But although formally, dapat meron tayong topic and then we're going to decide kung anong dapat na research methodology. Okay, so anyway, it's up to you already. So choose an interesting topic. So after that one, you'll have the third step. You are going to create a purpose statement using words such as explore, understand, and discover. So for example, ito. The purpose of the study, this is the statement of the purpose or the purpose statement. The purpose of the study is to explore the role of restaurant managers in monitoring work performance of service crews at Maasin City. So ito na yung purpose statement. At gagamitin natin yan for step 4. In step 4 kasi, you're going to modify that purpose statement or statement of the purpose into a central question which will look like this. Okay. We're going to use this format or template for you to create or to modify that statement of the purpose into research questions. So what is then you are going to fill what is the central phenomenon of your study, and kung sino yung mga participants at or in, you're going to choose anong gagamitin mo dyan, and you're going to lalagyan mo, dudugtungan mo ng kung saan yung research mo gagawin. So it will look like this. What is the role of restaurant managers in monitoring work performance of service crews at Maasin City? So pwedeng ganyan na yung format. The central phenomenon there is the role of restaurant managers in monitoring work performance. Yun yung central phenomenon or central situation or central issue of service crews, yung mga participants at Maasin City. Okay? So ganyan lang paggawa ng research question. So after that, it will lead us also to the step 5, which is to create sub-questions. So sub-questions is connected also to the central questions, pero ginagawa natin to because in qualitative kasi there are emerging issues while we are in the data collection procedures. Kaya nadaragdagan din yung mga questions natin. For example, the topic here is about the role of restaurant managers, but maybe as we go on with our data collection, some issues will also arise in connection to our central question. So ito yung template na pwede natin gamitin to create some questions. Halos magkapareho lang sa kanina. But difference is, yung paglalagay ng participants would be optionals already and even the research site. So it would look like this. So we have here, yung nagawa natin, what are the challenges of restaurant managers in monitoring work performance of service crews at Maasin City? Yung kanina role lamang, pero while we are conducting the data collection procedure, we notice while looking at or hearing their answers, they mentions about challenges of them being restaurant managers. So you add another research questions using this template. So if you may notice, kompleto yung nalagay natin dito. So pwede pa rin, but that is optional. What are the challenges of restaurant managers in monitoring work performance of service crews at Maasin City? And the second one, yun, hindi na natin iniisip masyado kung dapat pa rin bang i-include yung participants. So, it's not that hindi natin iniisip masyado. Hindi na talaga kinakailangan. So here, when do service crews become motivated to work? Okay, pwede pa rin nating itanong yan. Okay, given na this is not too narrow, this question is not too narrow. So it could be included as sub-question. So makakatulong din to to make a more effective guide in interviewing our proceeding participants. Okay, so that is about how to create the qualitative research question. And remember, never forget that the research questions must be specific. Hindi siya pwedeng too narrow, ibig sabihin masyadong mababaw, too broad, medyo sobra naman ka-general. For example, our topics about late landing. If you are from Tacloban, for example, kung late landing siya, we are not going to ask about when was the late landing, okay, or when is the late landing. So napakadaling answer. So too narrow naman. So too broad naman kapag sasabihin natin how important is late landing. So napakahaba ng sagot at ang daming sagot which is too broad. But if we are to come up with a good research question, pwedeng sabihin lang natin how important is the monument of General MacArthur in Tacloban for people who are in Tacloban. Yun, that is good for creating our research question. And also remember, never forget that more questions means a longer study. And guys, thank you for watching this video, and I hope you learned something new today about the topic about creating your research paper. And that would be all. God bless and good day to all.